All right, so why don't we, like I say, we'll open it up. We've got a few minutes left here, so any questions you have, just raise your hand and we'll try to get a microphone up to you.
I have a question about some of the development regarding the playground, the basketball courts, the pickleball courts, and the new playground. I understand that there are permeable surfaces that can be put down, and I was wondering if the basketball court is one of those. When I watched the playground being developed, it looked like there was concrete under the rubber mulch, and I didn't think that that was permeable. So can you give us an update on what's planned for the playground, the pickleball courts, if there's maybe permeable surfaces going in?
That's a question for our borough engineer. If you would, if you give me your email address, I'll gladly get him to address that with you. I will tell you, as far as the playground surfaces go, they have to be safe surfaces, so that's all engineered, and he could probably answer your question as to why it's concrete. And then there was a little bit of confusion because we put down rubber mulch and people got upset, but that's all part of the safety surface to prevent injuries.
Yeah, it didn't seem like concrete under the rubber would be safe to me. You know, it didn't seem logical to me, but I'll
Yeah, if you give me your information, I'd be glad to work on getting you your answers.
Okay, thanks, Jen.
They did use permeable when you guys repaved down at the bird sanctuary with a little, so they are trying to do that when they can. Question?
Are they going to fix the bocce courts too that are on there at night?
Okay, so the bocce courts were re-leveled, okay? Yeah, and if they weren't, they're going to be, but no, it's June, they were. They're not re-leveled. Okay, we're going to talk to the engineer about your bocce courts, because we talk about them a lot because we want you to play bocce. Did you get your shade structure yet? Shade structure's up? Okay, if you give me your email address, I'll talk to the engineer.
Send it into the website. Another question, of course. Working off that donut.
Can you elaborate a little bit about the unsustainable fire department cost that was referenced? And I guess I remember reading something about how our department interacts with other departments that are not staffed and whether we carry more of our burden.
Ken Biddick is on the Public Safety Committee. With his financial background, he's worked extensively on this. Do you want to come to the microphone?
I think can everybody hear me?
Hold on, Ken. You guys are working this. You had a plan.
Again, not that we're trying to say somebody did something wrong or whatever, but when we decided, and I say we because I was a big proponent of having a paid fire department, we just cannot get volunteers anymore to service things. When we send something out, when we send a truck out, we have to have 3 people on that truck. That's a mandate. Okay. EMS, you have to have 2 people. All of our firefighters are EMS certified, so they can do both sides of the house. Now, the state has recommended we have 4 shifts. We only have 3. So effectively, we are undermanned. We use volunteers and we use part-timers to cover mainly our nighttime shift. Okay. These people get a paid stipend. It's a very small amount of money. When I say small, I think a 12-hour overnight shift, they get $120. So $10 an hour is not a lot of money. Is it sustainable? The reality is we really need to add more paid firefighters. The other reality is we need to be in a shared service with Avalon. Avalon has no incentive right now because New Jersey says we have to have what's called a mutual aid agreement. Because we have a paid fire service, we have to be first responders. So when Avalon has a call and they cannot get volunteers, we have to respond. So Avalon has no reason to say, hey, yeah, we want to work with you guys, but we're working on it. We're trying to get the reality of we are a 7-mile island. It's not going to close anybody's firehouse. It does help us be able to not have, I'll call it, the same type of equipment between firehouses. So from a capital perspective, we don't have to spend so much. We did have a meeting with the fire company last week. We are going to make 3 captains. Captains in a fire company are like sergeants in a police force. So we have no structure of that level in our firehouse. So we're working on creating the structure. We're working on convincing Avalon to work with us. And the only thing that's going to do is when you do shared service, it comes out of your budget cap. And that's since the question came up, we have to go in front of the state. And we have to get a permanent raise to our cap. We can't continue the way we are. And there's a couple of reasons why things are the way they are. When our new houses get built, the assessment's not done right. It's not a market assessment, so therefore that addition to our valuations isn't what it should be, so we can't get to increase our cap by that. So in other words, if somebody builds $4 million bricks and sticks on something that was worth $150 before, and somebody says, well, the construction cost was only $1.5 million, that $2.5 million differential doesn't go on our assessed values. We can't then say, if our current rate is 33 cents, 100, so that 33 cents, we would get additional spending for that $250,000 amount, which is 10% of the 2.5 million. So you imagine if we had another $400 or $500 million, which it could be in this town of assessment, we wouldn't have a budget cap issue. But we do. So we need to go in front of the public first and say, we're going to need to have a permanent increase in our cap. Folks have to vote on it. You can't do it unless you vote on it. We may ask for $2 million, we may ask for $3 million. We don't know the answer to that yet because I've got to get from all the departments what is the right number to run this place the way it should be run. Without that number, we have no idea what we have to ask for. So there's complexity to this, but it's not, I'll call it intellectual complexity. It's just common sense complexity that folks don't seem to have an ability to exercise. Why, I don't know. As Jen says, she's not running. I'm on the ballot, but I'm not running. They asked me to help, and I said I would help. It's not something that I care to do as a political thing. I'm trying to help right the ship, as they say, and make it simple, and hopefully when the next people come along, they don't mess it up. So that's where I am.
Ken, just to recap what Ken is saying is, number one, we're very grateful for your service, so thank you. You've been a tremendous asset to the borough. So Ken is referring to a referendum. There'll be an opinion question on the ballot in November that will ask if the taxpayers would support increasing the spending cap, which is the appropriation cap, okay? And then there will be a referendum, most likely in February, okay, asking the same question. then the challenge of that is the only way this has ever worked is in a town called Pine Valley in New Jersey. And you're probably familiar with Pine Valley from the golf course, and the number of voters was 12. Okay, so Stone Harbor in the wintertime could be that, we don't know how many voters we would get. If that does not pass, then the borough has to go to the DCA, the same people that have been doing our efficiency studies, and we go in front of the local finance board. We thought we would have to do that this year, and that would be your mayor and your president of council and your CFO would go before the local finance board and ask for a waiver. None of this is a given, okay? The referendum isn't a given, a waiver isn't a given. If they don't go through, you're going to be looking at very serious cuts in services. What we're doing, what I'm doing, what Ken's doing, what Bunny's doing, everyone on council, all 7 of us, we're trying to preserve your services. We're trying to find ways to do it more efficiently. It is so challenging, but we're there working on it, and it's endless hours. As they will tell you, it's almost unconscionable how many hours it is trying to do the work out.
Another question?
Well, I just want to add a couple of things. So I think the fire company is a good example of, shared services, but doing shared services in the right way. The borough should never have independently instituted a paid fire company. It should have always been done in concert with partner communities. Because as Ken said, there is no incentive. As long as the taxpayers of Stone Harbor are paying for paid fire service, why does Avalon want to kick any money into that, right? Sea Isle, Courthouse, all the communities that are part of the mutual aid. So it just is an illustration of how much thought has to be given to these major decisions. And I think current council is much more attuned to that than previous councils were. But, you always pay for the sins of your father. So we're dealing with that. On this question of the referendum, SHPOA is going to take a hard look at that. We may or may not take a position on whether we think it's a good idea, but one of the things that we are going to really push for is if the borough is going to ask taxpayers to approve or ask voters to approve a significant increase in spending authority, we would like to see that coupled with a long-term financial plan. So there's an understanding of you're going to get all this extra money, and what are you going to do with it, right? So that the money is going to be spent responsibly. Right, so the last part of this is, this referendum will be in February. Potentially 100 people will be voting, on that question. It's going to affect all of us. I'm just going to put a pitch out here. If you live in New Jersey already, you could think about moving your voter registration to Stone Harbor. More voters down here can make a difference because, as Jennifer said, there's a lot of political pressure because it's a very small group of voters, and they're the ones that actually make the decisions. And so, an influx of new voters can make a big difference. Now, if you don't live in New Jersey, you don't want to move here, and you don't want to register here and invite all those New Jersey taxes on you. But if you're already paying them, think about that.
Thank you, Chris.
Susan, do you want to do your little thing now about that?
Oh, thank you. Hi, everybody. I just want to talk to you about our native garden project briefly. I'll just begin by saying that one area of focus for SHPOA is in water conservation. And I know we've talked about this before, but we have a couple of problems on our island. One is that we're sitting on top of a significant aquifer. So as we use our water, the island is actually sinking as the aquifer is depleted. And at the same time, salt water is invading the pure water in the aquifer. So water conservation is extremely important. And the biggest use of water in our town is irrigation for gardens. because I'm sure no one's surprised about that. So we've been encouraging people to shift, not entirely, but at least incrementally, from using ornamental water guzzling plants, like, God forbid I say it, hydrangeas, toward more native type plants that are just as beautiful, and that in addition to be saving water, they attract butterflies, bees, birds, things that nature intended, that we have. I'm sure we've all seen, like the reduction in the monarch butterfly population, for one thing, in our borough, which I've definitely noticed over the last 20 years. So anyway, SHPOA has now put our money where our mouth is, and in the spring, we planted up a native garden at the 2nd Avenue Island between 109th and 110th Street. We put some signage there, and it's partly a demonstration garden. It's beautiful. I went by last night. It's amazing after only one season how well the plants are coming in. We worked with the Public Works Department and with the Garden Club, but we financed it, and here's Beth Toolin here, who was a member of SHPOA until last year, and she really and I spearheaded it, and we're so proud of it. So anyway, we're going to be having a videotaping on Thursday, July 26th at 10 o'clock in the morning, but then following that, a ribbon cutting ceremony at 11, which we would love for you all to attend, and please pass the word. You can learn something, see the beautiful garden. June, did I say July? June 26th at 11. And as an incentive, additionally, for the first 50 people that show up, we're going to give you a packet of seeds sponsored by Jane Goodall, which is wildflowers that you can put in your own garden and watch it grow. So anyway, we're really excited. Please come on out, and please consider even incrementally shifting things. Yes?
A question. I'm very interested in native plants.
Yeah.
I've planted some.
Yeah.
In my house. They're not that easy to find. 2 years ago, the wetlands had a sale.
Mhm.
But you have to really search for them. So
You do.
any hints on where we can, I know the seeds are available, but where can you get native plants?
Right. I think that gradually area garden centers, there's one that I go to called Triple Oaks, which is in Franklinville. I think that the demand for native plants is actually growing, at least incrementally, if not even more than that. So I think you'll go to your typical garden center, and they might have a section now that's just devoted to native plants. So I think that that's one option. Also, one nice thing about gardening is sharing. So as our native plant grows, and we also have a rain garden outside of the restrooms there, we can give cuttings to one another, things like that. But it's really not that difficult these days to find it. And what we'd like to do, one of our other goals with our garden, is to encourage the area landscapers who are just sort of like by rote putting in these things that make no sense. I mean, it's easier for them, they can get them in bulk, but if we as consumers demand from them that we want all or at least part of our garden, I just put one in, Chris has a garden that's exclusively native in his home, so we need to demand it also from the people that are putting in the plants for us.
The Audubon Society in Cape May has a sale every year. They're an excellent resource. And the other thing is our county extension service, Rutgers Extension Service. It's out past TJ Maxx and the Acme on your way to 47. They are also an excellent resource for you on where to get native plants.
Susan, also,
Yeah.
remember we had the native plant brochure?
Yeah, we still have it, and we hand it out. But yes, so we have that, and we'll have that on the 26th.
There's also a native gardener on Route 47. I think it's called Secluded Acres. But
It is.
Yeah, it can go down this crazy little driveway. You think you're going to somebody's house, but he has all kinds of plants that are native.
Great.
So that's Secluded Acres is that in Rio Grande? It's in Rio Grande.
Also Cape Shore Gardens.
Cape Shore
Cape
Garden.
Shore, right.
They do,
Right.
she's excellent. native, and not only native, but low water. Sometimes it's not a native, and they'll have certain things that are very low water.
Yeah, I think what you're doing is admirable, and I
Yeah.
thank you for your efforts.
Yeah.
And water conservation is encouraging people to save plants in their gardens.
Yes.
What is the borough doing to encourage people to not plant these kind of high water gardens?
Well, one of the things the borough did recently, and we hope they go further, is to eliminate sprinkler systems from curb strips. So that's one thing. We're hoping that we can encourage the borough to move further into people's gardens with, other requirements. But it's really tough because people are so wedded to what their impatiens and their hydrangeas and things like that are just guzzlers. And I mean, I don't think you can really legislate that, but hopefully by example. And you can see even actually the garden club planted a native garden on 104th on the 2nd Avenue Island. And to be honest, we've tried to work with them to even change their mindset about what kind of plants they're using in our containers and things like that. And so when we met with them at this site at 109th, when we were originally planning this, they told us that they were so impressed with their success at 104th, and that garden, which is Rudbeckia and Echinacea and things like that, is doing so much better than the other and not so dependent on rain. So I think it's, over time, we're all learning together, not only, the beauty of it and also the benefits of it. But I mean, I'm happy to say that we are working together. And then also the other thing that the borough is proposing, and Bunny has proposed in the past, is that in terms of water bills, to prorate the bills based on usage, which I think is really important. I mean, sometimes I walk by houses that are empty and sprinklers are running and in the rain and things like that. And I think, let's face it, it's a wealthy town, and but economics should still matter. And I think that if you understand that you're going to be charged more for more usage, maybe even at the margin, people will think a little bit more about wastefulness with water.
What about the pebbles and stones?
The pebbles and stones,
Yeah,
they're
they
okay.
used to be pretty prominent.
Yeah.
Now they don't use it at all.
I think the borough is now requiring more use of permeable driveways and things like that in zoning and planning. But you're right, I mean, the pebbles are great.
Stones don't need any water.
They don't. I have them. I mean, I have them and I love it. It's great. I mean, and yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you really want to have a garden, why not have one that's just, works with the environment that you're in instead of fighting it?
So we have a council member named Bunny Parzik, and she tells us that everything starts with planning and zoning. Am I right, Bunny?
Everything is about the zone. It's what separates Stone Harbor from every other town on the Jersey Shore, is our zone. Yes.
So that is,
That was good about 50 years ago.
Jack, can you
They
please?
built houses on one lot, on one house that tore it down, put up 2 houses.
Yeah,
Mhm,
exactly.
okay.
Their zoning went out the window.
so what I was trying to say was, what you're talking about stones and how our properties are managed, it would be a planning issue and then a zoning issue. We have a question all the way.
I just wanted to hear what Bunny had to say. I couldn't hear her all the way up here.
I just made the comment that we are blessed to have the history of zoning that we have in Stone Harbor. Our zoning is beautiful. We have wide setbacks. I might like some wider setbacks, maybe not so many things in the setbacks. We certainly could improve, but the zoning that we have in Stone Harbor is what makes us different from the other municipalities. Everyone has beautiful beaches, but They don't have our zoning, and we have less density than most places. So I'm grateful for the people who came down here and drew everything out in the beginning, and we need to hold tight to a restrictive zoning. That's all.
I would just like to make a comment. Jeff, you might prefer to jump in on this, but let's talk for a minute about the implications if we don't get this water usage under control. Susan mentioned that we're getting saltwater infiltration into our freshwater aquifer. Plus, it's causing the island to sink. And in fact, most of South Jersey is sinking because of aquifers being depleted. However, we have no other source of fresh water for Stone Harbor. If we allow the situation to continue to deteriorate, we are going to end up having to build a desalination plant for Stone Harbor. Now, maybe we'll manage to make that a shared agreement because our neighbors will be in the same boat. But the point is, there's no real estate on these barrier islands for a desalination plant, which means getting a chunk of land on the mainland, pumping the salt water from a location that the Department of Environmental Protection deems acceptable, and then pumping the water back. So if you want to imagine the millions and millions, tens of millions, probably hundreds, to do that, that's what we're facing if we don't get the water situation under control. So it's a very sobering fact, and I wanted to pass that along because the other day somebody commented to me, water, we got plenty of water in Stone Harbor. We got plenty of salt water. We don't have plenty of fresh water. So please pass the word and encourage your family and your guests and your neighbors to conserve the fresh water. Thank you.
Can I say something? Sure. I'm Bunny Parzik, and I want to say we're blessed in another way, many ways in Stone Harbor, but SHPOA has provided several people over the years that have helped us in our sustainability and our sensitivity to it. Wally Bishop started out many years ago. Then Wally was followed by Jeff Woolery, who is still on the board. Jeff Woolery, there you are. Thank you, Jeff. And now we have my friend Justine Herzog, who is sustainability on behalf of SHPOA. And all three of the SHPOA sustainability pioneers are sitting on our flood mitigation committee. And they help us, they're helping us move forward in trying to solve some of the flooding problems that really overtakes 20 to 25% of the town in a storm. So thank you SHPOA, thank you Wally, you're probably watching, thank you Jeff, and thank you my friend Justine.
So thank you, Bunny. One of the comments we got in our survey was the meetings go too long. So we promised we would end at 1:15, and we're only 2 minutes late, so we'll end it here. I just want to say, any questions you have, we have the question box on our website. Every one of those questions gets answered, either by us or somebody at the borough. We track it down. So any follow-up you have, and any comments you have about this meeting, please send us an email and let us know. Thank you very much. We'll see you in the fall.